Action cameras, since they were first launched, have never been known to create any sort of shallow depth of field. In this video today, I have some really useful comparisons lined up for you guys. First off, I'm going to look at how sharp it is between f2 and f4 using this macro lens, what sort of shallow depth of field we can achieve by using this. Not only that, I have some really important points that I want to make as to why you probably shouldn't pick up this macro lens, which I'll get into in a little bit. And this could be a major deal breaker for a lot of you out there. As you can see watching this video, this is obviously day 2, just judging by the weather outside and me, a completely different change of clothing. Unfortunately, yesterday, my Fuji X-M5 died literally at the very end of the video, causing me to lose my entire talking head footage. So here we are. I think I found a pretty good spot to test the macro. The way that the light is shining in here looks pretty nice. Let's check it out. Let's switch it over to macro. So it's between the human setting and the mountains infinity mode. Let's go to the close focus mode. Whoops, wrong way. There we go. We're in the close focus mode now. How does that look? Now that we're in f4 with the macro lens set to the closest macro range, you can certainly tell the difference between f2 and f4. For all the people that saying variable apertures aren't worth it, it's just not worth it to you. It certainly has some value to some people out there, like myself. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, well, my iPhone can do a better job with macro work, and you're definitely right. It can obviously get much, much closer, and it also can offer depth of field, but it's just digital. It's mimicking what you would otherwise get with mirrorless sort of camera, but it's all digital. It's all just in Apple's processing of the image. Let's quickly test how much it flares with the macro lens on. It's now at f4 right now. Have this set to -3 exposure. Let's put on the other lens now and let's see how it compares. Now with the macro lens off, we're at f4 without the macro lens. How do both of these compare in terms of flare? Should have moved it around a little bit more like I am right now. Oops. Maybe let's put that macro lens back on and let's see once more. Looking again at the flares. Just kind of moving it side by side. Any difference? Looks like it flares a little less actually. In order to give a little extra value with this lens flare test, I'm also going to use this bright flashlight and let's see how this looks in comparison. This is really powerful, so it's probably going to cause some major flaring, but it gives you a little bit better of an idea of how this responds. Of course, I left the standard lens at home. I'm at f4, 4K 30. It's in the macro mode. What do you think? We getting some depth of field here? In theory, this should be one of the nicest shots featuring the depth of field in this camera. It is set at infinity, but most of this area here should be blurred based on the fact of it being at f2. How does that look? Let's change the focus distance to the minimum focus distance. Now it's set to macro. How does that look in comparison? I'm going to go back, set it to infinity. How does that look? Go back to macro. Let's try f4. We're at f4 right now. I'm going to go from the minimum focus distance all the way up to infinity. Set infinity now. So hard to change the focus without getting your fingers in the shot. Now, I think we should see as well how this looks for doing vlog style content. What sort of background blur we can get at f2. I have it set a little bit past the human setting on the manual focus style. Just looking down right now because I'm afraid I'm going to fall in to the water here on this bridge. As you can see, some gaps there. How does this look? Let's go over to the minimum focus distance. I'll wipe my nose first so you don't see anything. How does that look? I have a feeling that this is going to be a pretty nice shot, just looking at it right now. I've been pretty impressed with this camera and this lens. See now, when I have it about this level, this is probably about within the distance that that minimum focus will pick me up. Although I'll probably be out of focus right here because it's at f2. If I change it to f4, that will change that. Now, I believe this is about the perfect setting for me when holding it out. But like this. And of course, you can use your Mimo app to also check this. So looking at the Mimo app, I can see right now that the focus peaking is showing me in focus right now. And actually, when you switch it over as well to the infinity mode, because it's such a wide lens, you're basically in focus up till, you see I'm still showing me as being in focus. Right now it's out of focus, in focus, in focus, in focus. So honestly, I don't know, with this person setting on the side, I think it's better off to just mostly leave it on the mountain mode, which is the infinity point. Don't really see much point in having it much closer if you're having your arms fully extended. But what do you think? How does that look? Again, this is that infinity setting, which is appearing as the mountain mode on there. All right, let's move on to the next thing. I think the downside that most people have with this macro lens is that it just is far too expensive, and it doesn't help the fact that they actually don't include any sort of cover. I had to 3D print this one myself, which I found a print on Maker Supply, but I really encourage all of you out there to not buy one, because it really should have been included in the first place when you are paying around $258 Canadian, which is just atrocious to pay that amount of money for a lens this small, even without any sort of cover. Of course, they do have a carrying case with this, but still, it's unacceptable considering it is an action camera and that lens does protrude, so much so that you could really scrape this thing up if you have it in that macro setting. Anyways, let's just put it back on now. Let's get into the dreaded reason as to why I don't think you should buy this macro lens. Really, the main reason, other than the waterproofing, I mean, I literally cannot go out there because this is not weather sealed unless I use an umbrella, which I mean, I have, it's possible, but do I really want to be walking around like this, like an old lady in London? Not really. So let's get into it. This is the major reason as to why you wouldn't want this. It's that you lose open gate. You lose the 1/1 inch sensor mode that a lot of people have bought this camera for. This is really the one thing that brought people into the stores to buy this camera, and yet you lose that open gate mode. I really wish there was a way that they could have allowed you to use this mode, and maybe with firmware updates in the future, they'll allow it. But for right now, you miss probably the greatest mode that has been included in this camera for people that are wanting to shoot vertical and horizontal content at the same time. So currently right now I'm stuck in 4K 30. I have the 4x3 mode on, and this is basically what I am limited to.
Okay, looking at both these images in Lightroom, we're going to see how sharp both images are when compared with one another. I have the macro lens set to f2, which is the lowest lockable aperture, and then the center lens is f2.6, and you can see here on the top corner of each photo. I know I'm going to get at least one comment asking why I didn't set it to 2.0. It's just because you cannot lock it to that, so that is why. All right, now let's do a zoom in on this image here. We have it close to around 100% increase. Now, this macro lens is out of focus. That is why it's not as sharp in the image here compared to the standard lens. But you'll see pretty soon that starts to change when this area is actually in focus. You can just see the difference in sharpness here. It's pretty substantial compared to one another. Now, this is pretty well the whole story throughout the frame. Even at f2, it's pretty sharp when you attach this. One thing to also keep in mind, you cannot shoot raw images. I repeat, you cannot shoot raw images with the macro lens, which is pretty piss poor, if I'm being honest. I'm not a fan of that at all. Looking at the tree line here, we do definitely see some color fringing though on both sides. Now looking at both these images at f4, zooming in, you can see that this macro lens already has a much sharper image up close. So you can see the benefits of f4 already. Now, when you go over here, you can see just a complete difference in overall quality. Could this be a bit of their post-processing when using the macro lens? I think that's probably the case. You can see right here in the tree line as well, the effect of their image stacking. It's honestly pretty unpleasant at times. If you don't zoom in, it's not that bad, but you can definitely see that they're doing some weird post-processing with this. Let's go over here into this top corner, and you can just see that, yeah, the contrast and sharpness is much better on the macro lens. Maybe a little bit over sharpened though, if I'm being honest. Yeah, you can just see right here in the tree line that they're really doing some weird stuff with their image processing. And I really hope to see them fix this in time. Looking at this image here at f4, you would really expect, with it being labeled a macro lens, that this mushroom would be in focus, but rather the point is around here or so. So it's definitely not a true macro lens if you're looking for one. This is f2, and you can see the focus distance is even further out, unfortunately. Now, when looking at lenses, one of the most important things for a lot of people is how the background blur actually looks. This is at f4 on the left and f2 on the right hand side. How do both of these compare with one another? Has more of a vintage rendering, but a lot of people like that look. So let me know what your thoughts are.
Well, these last 2 days, we've looked at this lens pretty closely, and I have a lot of thoughts, and I want to give some advice to who should buy this and who shouldn't. First off, if you're someone who bought this camera for that 1/1 inch sensor mode, obviously don't buy this. You're wasting your money if you bought this camera for that mode. Shallow depth of field really isn't everything. I think most people aren't going to notice all that much. If you live somewhere like myself in this beautiful sunny place called Vancouver, or surrounding areas of Vancouver, it's probably not the best investment, honestly. We're kind of stuck in the covered area right now because of the rain. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You buy action cameras to bring it out into harsh environments, and you can't do that with this lens now. Because of the Action 6 already having really good close focus, you don't need that macro lens nearly as much as you do with something like this Insta360 Ace Pro 2, where even if I were to shoot it this far out, I'm still probably going to be a little bit out of focus because it has such a poor minimum focus distance on it. But with this one, I mean, you really don't need it. Most of you will probably be better off just saving your money unless you want this shallow depth of field. And we'll just give another close look at that, see what you can expect. If you want this, cool. But if you don't want this, then just save your money, honestly. So now, after reviewing this lens quite heavily over the last few days, who do I think this is for? I think this is for someone that is okay missing out on the open gate mode, someone that wants shallow depth of field, doesn't necessarily mind being in that 4x3 if they're wanting that sort of framing. That being said, if you're feeling like dropping some cash, I have links in the description. Check those out, buy through my links, and I get a bit of a kickback and it really helps this channel out. Anyways, thank you. If you have any tests you want me to do, please let me know. I have the Ace Pro 2 now. Let's unpack some of these cameras and figure out the faults that are associated with them. Guys, only 8% of you are subscribed that watch my videos, so a subscription would be really, really great to help bring me over into a new audience. So thank you so much for your support. Anyways, that is all. Take care. Thank you. Bye.